Today, we're going to unravel the story of a single community and trace how the lives of pioneers, skilled craftsmen, and even a world-famous novelist all got tangled up together along the banks of one particular Swedish river.
You know, some maps do more than just show you where to go. They tell stories. Take this one, from the late 1600s. It shows a part of northern Sweden that was, in many ways, still a bit of a mystery. But hidden in these hand-drawn lines are the very first clues about the people who would come to shape this land. Their stories are the threads we're going to follow, all weaving together along the waterways you see right here on this map.
So, our story really begins with the one character that saw it all, the constant witness to every single change, every arrival, and every departure, the Rosfors River.
Think of the river and its connected lakes as the absolute lifeblood of this region. This map from 1859, it really shows you how settlements like Bjurstrask and Rosfors were perfectly placed to use the power of that water. This geography right here set the stage for absolutely everything that was about to happen, from the very first farms carved out of the forest to the industrial furnaces that would one day light up the night sky.
So, who were these people? The ones who looked at this wilderness and saw a home? Let's follow our first thread and meet the pioneers.
Okay, so people had been in this area for centuries, sure. But for us, the story really kicks off on one specific day, July 8th, 1755. That's the day a man named Niels Nielsen got official permission to create what's called a nybygge, basically a brand new settlement right on the shores of the lake. And he named it Bjurstrask.
And there he is, right in the official records, Niels Nielsen, born in 1711. We actually don't know where he came from. His origins are a total mystery, but his legacy? Well, that's crystal clear. It wasn't about the past he left behind, but the future he built right here, raising 10 children in his new home.
And get this is the actual survey document from 1798. This one piece of paper was a game changer. It officially turned their settlement from just a hopeful claim into a permanent, recognized crown homestead. It lays out exactly where their fields and pastures were, making it all official in the eyes of the law.
All right, now let's pick up our second thread. Because while those farmers were working the soil, a brand new force was arriving in the forest, drawn there by the very same river, industry. And with it came the masters of the furnace.
To really get what's happening next, you have to understand the Moss Mastery, the master blast furnace operator. Now, this wasn't just some job, okay? This was a highly respected, highly skilled profession. So important, it was actually governed by a royal decree. These were the guys who had the secret knowledge to turn raw ore into pure iron.
And becoming a master? Wow, it was a long, tough road. Take Jacob Espling, for example. He's a huge figure at the Rosfors ironworks. He started at the very bottom as a furnace hand, a hitdreng, back in 1829. And over the next decade, he had to master every single specialized role there was before he could finally earn that coveted title of Master.
But here's the thing about Jacob Espling. He wasn't just some talented guy who worked his way up. No way. He was part of an industrial dynasty. His grandfather was a master operator. His father-in-law, Olaf Gronberg, came from this legendary family of masters. A family so skilled, his own father had won a medal for his work. This knowledge was like a family treasure, passed from father to son and from father to son-in-law.
So you've got these two very different worlds developing along the same river, right? The pioneer farmers on one side and the industrial craftsmen on the other. You just knew it was only a matter of time before these two threads started to weave together.
Well, the first way they connected, it wasn't exactly a happy one. The powerful Rosfors ironworks needed charcoal for its furnaces, which meant it needed a lot of forest. So it just started buying up the farms the pioneers had worked so hard to build. All of a sudden, families who had founded this community were basically tenants, paying rent on the very land their parents had cleared. The whole balance of power was shifting big time.
But something else was happening too, something a bit more personal. You start looking at the parish records from back then and you see the names of the pioneers, like Nilsson, appearing on the very same pages as the names of the furnace workers. They were neighbors, they were friends, and pretty soon they were going to be family.
And because the genealogical records from this area are so incredibly detailed, we can actually trace these connections with amazing precision. And what they show us is a story that you can boil down to this one incredible sentence. The daughter of the farmer who first broke this soil would one day marry the son of the man who ran its blast furnace. Two worlds, two families, two legacies, becoming one.
And you won't believe some of the surprises hidden in these family trees. Remember Olaf Gronberg, the celebrated master operator with the medal-winning father? Well, his daughter, Anna Greta, who was born way back in 1780, turns out she's the 4 times great-grandmother of, wait for it, the world-famous Swedish crime novelist Liza Marklund. How cool is that? The legacy of that furnace master is still echoing on bestseller lists today.
Now, this whole industrial boom wasn't just about iron. The hunger for timber created these instant boom towns that seemed to pop up overnight. And maybe the most dramatic example of all was on this little island called Altapan.
An English company built Altapan back in 1871, and it quickly became this bustling sawmill community on an island right off the coast. It pulled in workers from all over Sweden, creating this thriving little society, with homes, a school, shops, all watched over from this big, fancy manager's manor. It looked like the perfect picture of industrial success.
But then, on one single day in 1908, 1,000 people. That's how many lost their homes there. Just like that. 1,000 people. It all happened on July 3rd, 1908. A single spark, just one spark from a passing steam tug, landed in a pile of wood shavings. The fire, they said, was explosive. And it didn't just burn the sawmill. It wiped the entire island clean. The homes, the school, everything. In just a few hours, a community that took decades to build was just gone.
When you look at the timeline, you really see just how fragile that whole boom was. I mean, the mill had already burned down once before, but they rebuilt it. But the 1908 fire, that was the end. The island was abandoned. But the story doesn't quite stop there. The community's former manager had already been pulled away to help build the brand new mining city of Kiruna. So he was able to help a lot of the now homeless workers get new jobs there, starting a whole new chapter for these families.
So after all of that, all those people, all that drama, what's actually left of these interwoven stories? What can we see today of the pioneers and the furnace masters and the river that tied them all together?
This comparison right here says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you see the 1859 map, a living, breathing ironworks at Rosfors, and on the right, that same spot today. The works are long gone, but the blast furnace is still there. It stands as a protected ruin, a hyttruin, right in the middle of a nature reserve. All the noise and the fire are gone, replaced by silence. But the past, it's still there if you just know where to look.
You know, the farms of Bjustresk are still there. The river still flows. And that furnace ruin stands like a silent monument. It just goes to show you, every landscape is a history book, filled with these tangled threads of families and fortunes, successes and failures. Which really makes you wonder, what stories does your own landscape tell?